I'm not here to talk about Gene's leadership of the Federalist Society. There are many in this room who know that a lot better than I, because I haven't been around day to day for the operation of the FedSoc, never having lived in Washington. But I'm confident that I've known Gene a lot longer than anyone else in this room. I first met Gene when he was 13, and I must say, Gene, you had a lot more hair back then. The first thing that comes to mind for me when I think of Gene Meyer is driving and drinking, because he does neither. So he's, I met him because his older brother, John, was my mentor at Yale, and I met his younger brother, who would come to campus and visit, and then Gene was a freshman at Yale. I just want to reflect on those early years, because it explains the kind of person Gene is, and how we can understand the leadership that he's shown through the years for FedSoc. Gene was always known for his steady and principled leadership, his comradeship with other fellow students at Yale, his understated leadership in a way that's important. A long time ago, when I was in high school and people were talking about leadership, and someone said something to me that has stuck with me and I think is eminently true, which is a great leader never demands obedience or allegiance, but rather commands respect. Gene, in every way, has never demanded anything of anyone, but he, through his strength of character, has commanded the kind of following that he deserves, and he's never asked for any kind of credit, which says a lot about his selflessness as a student and at FedSoc, and his leadership in the conservative movement through the years. I'm going to just share one incident about Gene that is in some ways painful, but it kind of brings together everything that Gene is all about. Actually, Gene and I ended this I was in law school, but I was a freshman counselor. One way I made a little bit more extra money to help pay for the outrageous tuition at Yale Law School, which was $2,300 a year back then. But in any event, so Gene and I actually ended up in the same dormitory during my third year of law school and his freshman year at Yale. So I saw a lot of him that year. And one of the things that was very important to Gene was that he joined ROTC. Needless to say, Yale didn't offer or allow ROTC, so Gene took his ROTC training at a nearby college and would go to the extra work of traveling there for the required training. And so at one point, Gene was able to get his ROTC uniform, and he was very, very proud of that. Gene's a great patriot, and being in ROTC with potential military service was extremely important. And Gene's parents, most of you know Frank and Elsie Meyer, who were important editors in National Review, lived near Woodstock, New York, way out in the country in upstate New York, and it was hard to get to. And so Gene, I had a car, and Gene didn't have a car because he didn't drive. And he wanted me to take him home to show his uniform to his parents, and particularly to his mom. And I was glad to do that. And so we drove to Woodstock. The unfortunate thing was, at that point, Frank Meyer was seriously ill with lung cancer, was dying, and was in horrible, horrible pain, and it was a very agonizing time for the family. Gene showed up and surprised his mom with his uniform, and she was very pleased and overcome by that. but it was a traumatic time for the family, and instead of staying overnight as I had planned to do, I thought it best to leave the family there, and I did. But what all that says about Gene is, number one, his love of his country, number two, his seriousness as a student, number three, his love of and attachment to his family, and he went through all that family difficulty with Frank's illness, and Elsie departed this earth about three years after that. So it was a rough time for Gene, but he has emerged as the kind of leader that we all respect, and I'm very pleased to call him a great friend, and I hope all of you appreciate the fact that upon his upcoming, I think he's announced his retirement at some point fairly soon from FedSoc. I don't know the details of that, but maybe he can tell you about that. It's important that we honor him. So let's give Gene Meyer thanks for all that he's done.